Welcome, everyone. In preparation for the start of early voting on February 10th, UTC's Mocs Go Vote Committee has asked City Council candidates to speak with high school students and college students here in Chattanooga, answer their questions, and to share their vision for the future of Chattanooga. Joining us is one of the candidates in District 5, Leanne Jones. So we'll give her a minute or so to introduce herself, and then we'll have the students ask some questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Jeremy, so very much for this opportunity to be here with you and your students. As he stated, my name is Leanne Jones. I am 30 years of age, and I am running for District 5 here in the city of Chattanooga for councilwoman. I do not have a career in politics. This is my first time running for public office. However, I am not new to the ideals and the issues that are involved in politics. I have a lot of community background, done a lot of work with my church. I sit on the board of 2 nonprofit organizations. So I have a lot of community involvement, and I truly want to be the voice for the people. And I know we hear politicians say that over and over again, but someone that understands what it means to be a constituent. And so I do believe that that is something that's going for me. I'm not a polished politician. I'm just your everyday average individual. And I want to do something wonderful for our city.
Great, thanks for the introduction. And
Absolutely.
we'll have Terrence, would you like to go first?
Yes, I'll start us off. Give me one moment. All right, my first question is, how do you plan on helping increase access to affordable housing in Chattanooga?
Well, one thing about it is we in regards to housing, as we know, there have been a lot of housing complexes that have gone up downtown. A lot of them are well over what the average median income should allow for. But one thing about accessing affordable housing is we hear people talk about, well, we want to make sure people become homeowners. Well, can they become homeowners if they don't have anywhere to live to begin with? So let's take it one step at a time. And by doing that, I want to create a focus group of constituents that are in my district. What do you think housing should look like? How do you think we should purchase that? What would be your ideas in regards to how the city should be responsible for that? And so understanding and knowing that there are different avenues to accessing housing in regards to the city, that's something that we have to take a lot of time to research. There have been people state that they think that there should be a tax increase, and some people aren't for that, some people are. It's just a matter of taking the time to do the research and learning what would be best for this district and for this city. So in the gist of my answer, we want to make sure that we get the information in front of the constituents so that way they'll know them and if it's available to them.
Thank you.
No problem.
Lola?
Okay, yes, I'll go. Good evening, Ms. Jones. My first question for you is, how do you feel about your work with Sisters Who Care has prepared you to represent the people of District 5 via City Council and be their representative or one of them?
Absolutely, yeah. Sisters Who Care is a religious organization based from the Tennessee Baptist Convention. And so what we do is we take the time to go into the community. We host events, we host training days, we take the time to teach women that are being rehabilitated from prison. We help them with workforce development, business attire, all of those things. And we spend a lot of time teaching and educating our youth on suicide, bullying issues. And so I believe that's prepared me for this position because it's put me in the front of people. Sometimes people, politicians in particular, they'll say one thing, but they don't know how to interact with people. And so seeing is how I've been involved on the ground with this organization. Being in front of people is something that I've always done and something that I love, honestly. because you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to come in contact with. And sometimes you walk away feeling better than you did before you met them. So I do believe that's what has prepared me for this position.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. So you touched on how some people in the community want to increase taxes. So that makes me come to the question of what in our past budgets do you think needs to be revised? What should be less spent on? What should be increased? What do you feel like is like disproportionate when it comes to budget?
Of course. And I'm going to say this on a very thin, I'm going to tread very lightly on this, but I do feel passionate about it. One thing that we have realized and seen in going through the budget with the fine-tooth comb is that we spend so much money on our police department, but our fire department, their employees are only making $10.42 an hour. So it's not just a matter of making sure we pull funds from the police department to give back to the community, but what are we doing for those that are actually doing a job like the firefighters? That's one of the reasons why one of my platforms is fighting for the minimum wage and the base pay for city workers to be $15 an hour, because these workers are responsible for making sure the city of Chattanooga runs on a 24-hour basis. So if we're not taking care of our city workers, then how in the world are we expecting them to do a good job? So in that regard, the amount of the budget that goes to fund a lot of the police budget, they receive 1/3 of the total city's budget. And to me, that is quite a lot. I understand it takes money to do things. I get that. But there are some things that we could actually go back and relook at and see what we could do without, or see if there's an additional way we could find funds for that particular thing. So that is something that I do believe that has been mismanaged in the budget for the city.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How do you feel that the city of Chattanooga could best support its homeless population?
Oh, the city of Chattanooga could best support homeless population in a ton of ways. For one, how are we interacting with our homeless population? What are we doing to, help them get from where they are? We sometimes have a misconception when it comes to homeless people as if they want to be there. No one wants to be homeless in the initial moment. There was something that triggered an event that caused them to make a decision or to be forced into that situation. So what are we doing as a city to combat that homelessness? We should be able to afford them mental health access. We should be even willing to relook at the budget and see, hey, is there an empty building that belongs to the city that we could revamp, we could reconstruct and use it as a homeless shelter? There are organizations that cater to the homeless, but a lot of them cater to the entire family that may be struggling or may be in that homeless situation. So we don't really have a lot of organizations or a lot of people that's willing to work for individuals. And so we have to understand that individuals need help too. Single families need help too. If it's just one person, they need help. So there are a lot of ways that the city could do more in regards to helping the homeless population.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for that question.
Yes, my next question is, how do you plan to utilize the youth as part of your advocacy for change? And so how do you plan to inspire the youth to go towards change with you?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. When I first made my unofficial announcement back in June, my team and my campaign manager and I decided to start a podcast. And so that initially was started out of the need and the want to get young people involved. Even if they don't understand it, it's my job and it's my duty to make sure they do understand it. I am a advocate for making sure we reach back and teach our young people. I am currently studying to receive my bachelor's in Christian and family Christian individual and family counseling. And so one thing about it is our youth are struggling at this point, especially now during this pandemic. I have a 13-year-old niece and she struggles with virtual school. So if she's struggling with school, I wonder how many more young people are just struggling with everyday life. There are young people who don't have not even just a single mom, they're having a family member having to raise them. So they don't know what it feels like to have the support of a loving environment. And so it's our responsibility to make sure that they have that. And if and when I am elected to the seat of District 5, one thing I do want to do is I want to be on the Youth and Family Development Committee, because I have a heart for children and I have a heart for senior citizens. Children because they are our future, and senior citizens because they're our wisdom. So we have to understand how to utilize both of those and do all that we can to involve the younger generation. Even if they don't want to get in politics, it's important that they understand and that they know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, to kind of build off your answer, I have personal experience with Highway 58, and I've come to realize that our resources and facilities for the youth aren't as effective as they are in other districts. So I was wondering how, or have you realized this, and how do you plan to change this?
Right. And that, like you stated, that was a question built off my answer. With me being, if I am elected, with me being a part of the Youth and Family Development Committee, one responsibility of mine would be is how would we use the YFD centers that we have in our district. We have one right here in Brainerd, right next door to Brainerd High School, and then we have the Washington Hills YFD. What's going on in these centers? Why are we not actively doing something to teach our children financial management? Why are we not actively having programs that expose our children to something outside of the city of Chattanooga? Because the world is bigger than Chattanooga, so our children need to be expanded in that aspect. And so I would be willing to do whatever it takes to make sure our YFDs are held to a high standard in the resources that they provide for our youth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Although the city isn't directly in control of education, what do you think the city's role in education should be?
Well, the city should be responsible for the education of our youth. However, we do know that years and years ago, the city turned that responsibility over to the county. I, for one, am not in objection to the city even obtaining that back, but I understand that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But the city does have a responsibility in making sure that our children are well educated. If that means providing additional support to families, if that means making sure children have what they need when they go to school, if that means for every council person that is in their seat, they have a good relationship with the schools that are in their district and that administration, even though they can't do anything technical, they have a responsibility to build in these relationships, as well as building relationships with county commissioners within their corresponding districts. So that's what I think the city could be doing more in regards to making sure children are educated well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And I do have a question for you now. So, in your opinion, what does it mean for the average citizen to be heard? And how do you plan to uplift the voice of the average citizen upon your election?
Awesome. Thank you for that question. What it means for the average citizen to be heard is making sure, when they reach out to their council person, that they at least get a response. We've witnessed time and time again council representatives who have gotten communication from their constituents and there has not been a response. And what that looks like is if there is a constituent that's concerned about a random dog that is running around their neighborhood because they're afraid of dogs and they want to take their morning walk, but the state of Tennessee has a leash law that says your dog is required to be on a leash. And so if these constituents have this concern, how would the owner of the dog know this law if they don't? And how are we going to handle the situation? So that is just a simple example as to what that looks like. And so for me, there are a couple things that I want to put in place. For one, I want to make sure I have a newsletter going out at least once a month to inform the constituents of exactly what's going on, any upcoming votes, or anything that I believe that or everything that they would be interested in, as well as an open line of communication. Call my phone, email me, do whatever you need to do to get in contact with me. So that way, if there's something that needs to be fixed in our district, I need to know, and I want to know. And I am truly, I have a heart to make sure that the people in this district feel as though they're being heard, because they haven't been heard for so long.
Thank you. We probably have time for one more question.
Thank you for that question.
You've kind of explained it a little bit, but I just wanted to know what is your why? Why do you feel as you're qualified?
Why do I feel as I'm qualified?
To run, yeah.
To run? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's going to be a slight two-part answer. First part is the Hamilton County Election Commission has qualifications in order for a candidate to run. And anyone that meets these qualifications can run. All that means is the qualifications are you have to be at least 21 years of age, and you have to have lived in your district for a year. That's one part. Another part is I'm qualified because of the work that I know I've done. Sometimes people often they equate, if I see your work, then I know you're doing work. But understanding that the work that I've done has always been on a small scale. I work with everyday people every single day. It's not about reaching all the people in the world. It's about the one person at the time that I'm talking with. And so because of those interactions, and because I have made sure to put myself in front of people that need the help, that alone simply qualifies me to run for this office.
Great. Well, we want to thank you for your time, and we really appreciate you being here. Wondering if you want to make a closing statement to the youth out there who are hoping to get involved in Chattanooga and its local politics.
Of course. Again, thank you all so very much for your questions. I want to encourage those that are on this call and those that may see this, don't give up. Do not allow anyone to sway you away from what you truly believe. There are going to be people that will be negative. There will be people that will try to talk down to you, people who will try to push you out of the way, but just remember to remain strong, keep the faith. If it's something that you believe, then fight for it with all of your might. So again, thank you all so very much, and I have sincerely enjoyed my time with you all today.
Have
Thank
a
you so
wonderful
much.
evening.
We wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.